Hello everyone, my name is Chris Flynn, and today I'm going to share with you one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life. Something that happened to me and my friends just 6 months ago, in the remote backwoods of West Virginia. This is a story about survival, about friendship, and about things lurking in the woods that should never be disturbed. What I'm about to tell you, it still haunts me every single night. I wake up in cold sweats, hearing those sounds, seeing those faces, and sometimes, I wonder if we ever really made out at all, or if we're still trapped in those woods, running, always running, never escaping. Let me take you back to that day, the day when 5 friends took the wrong turn and entered a nightmare we could never escape, a nightmare that would change us forever, that would leave scars deeper than any blade could cut, scars on our very souls. Before I begin, I can see that 80% of my viewers haven't subscribed while watching my videos, so please, if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of my horror stories. Also, please comment down below where you're watching from and what time it is in your country. I absolutely love hearing from you all. And if you have your own horror story, something that happened to you or someone you know, please email us or drop it in the comments. We might feature your story in our next video. Now let's begin. It was late September, the kind of season when the leaves start turning golden and red, when the air gets crisp, and when the mountains of West Virginia look like something out of a postcard. Me, my girlfriend Jessie Burlingame, my best friend Scott, his girlfriend Carly, and our buddy Evan. We all decided to take a road trip. We'd been planning this for months. A weekend getaway, hiking, camping. Just getting away from our boring lives in the city. We were all in our mid-20s, working dead-end jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. This trip was supposed to be our escape, our chance to breathe, to forget about bills and responsibilities, to forget about the stress and the monotony. Just 5 friends, the open road and adventure. Or so we thought. I remember that morning so clearly, like it was burned into my memory with a hot iron. The sun was just rising as we packed Scott's old SUV, a beat-up Ford Explorer that had seen better days, but it was reliable, or so we thought. The paint was faded, the seats were torn, but the engine always started, always got us where we needed to go. Little did we know, this would be its final journey. Jessie was excited, more excited than I'd seen her in months. She'd been researching hiking trails for weeks, spending hours on her laptop, printing out maps, making lists. She had this map, an old paper map she'd found at some vintage store, showing all these hidden trails and waterfalls that weren't in any of the tourist guides, places that were supposedly untouched, pristine, perfect. The map was yellowed with age, the edges worn and frayed, and looking back now, I wonder who had owned it before, and what had happened to them. Scott was his usual self, cracking jokes, making everyone laugh, lightening the mood whenever things got too serious. He brought enough beef jerky to feed an army. 3 different flavors, teriyaki, peppered original. He was the kind of guy who always came prepared, always had what you needed. He was the glue that held our group together, the one who could make you smile even on your worst days. I miss him so much. Carly was taking pictures of everything, documenting every single moment. She was one of those people who lived through her phone camera, always capturing memories, always posting, always sharing. She had this beautiful smile, this infectious energy. She took a selfie of all of us that morning, standing next to the Explorer, all of us grinning, excited, hopeful. I still have that photo. It's the last picture of us all together, the last time we were truly happy. And Evan, quiet Evan. He was just happy to be away from his job at the warehouse. He didn't talk much, but when he did, you listened. He had this wisdom about him, this calm presence. He was the one who could read people, who could sense when something was off. I should have paid more attention when he started getting uncomfortable, when his instincts kicked in. But I didn't. None of us did. We hit the road around 6 in the morning. The sky was just beginning to lighten, streaks of pink and orange painting the horizon. The streets were empty, quiet, peaceful. The drive from our city was supposed to take about 4 hours. We planned to reach the mountains by late morning, set up camp, and spend the afternoon exploring. Maybe catch a sunset from some scenic overlook, cook dinner over a campfire, tell stories under the stars. Simple pleasures, simple plans, How naive we were. The weather forecast was perfect. Clear skies, mild temperatures, no chance of rain. Everything seemed aligned, like the universe was giving us the green light. But sometimes, the universe lies. Sometimes it sets you up, leads you exactly where you're not supposed to go. The first 2 hours were great, amazing even. We sang along to old songs on the radio, belting out lyrics we'd known since high school, laughing when someone forgot the words. The windows were down, wind whipping through our hair. We felt free. We felt alive. We felt like nothing could touch us. We stopped at this dingy roadside diner for breakfast, the kind of place that looks like it hasn't been updated since the 1970s, peeling linoleum floors, cracked vinyl booths, a flickering neon sign that said eat. The coffee was bitter, the pancakes were rubbery, but we didn't care. We were on an adventure. There was this old waitress there. Her name tag said Mabel. She had missing teeth, deep wrinkles, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. When we told her where we were heading, when Jesse showed her the map and pointed to the area we were going to explore, her face changed. The color drained from her cheeks. Her hands started to shake slightly. She leaned in close, her breath smelling like stale coffee and cigarettes, and whispered, her voice low and urgent, "You kids be careful up in those mountains. People go missing there, more than you'd think, more than gets reported, more than anyone wants to admit." She paused, looking around as if afraid someone might overhear, then continued, "My nephew, he went up there 5 years ago. Him and his friends, just like you all. Young, excited, looking for adventure. They found the ranger station, the old abandoned one, and they didn't come back. None of them. The search parties looked for weeks. Found nothing, not a trace, like they just vanished into thin air." We all laughed it off, thought she was just trying to spook the city folks, add some local flavor to our trip, make her day more interesting. Scott even joked about it, said, "Don't worry, we'll be fine. We're too pretty to die." Everyone laughed. Even Mabel cracked a small smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. If only we'd listened. If only we'd taken her warning seriously. If only we'd asked more questions, learned more about what she knew, what the locals whispered about. But we were young, we were invincible, we were idiots. As we left the diner, Mabel grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong for someone so frail. She looked directly into my eyes and said, "If you see the markers, the symbols carved into trees, turn back. Don't go any further. Promise me." I promised, just to make her feel better, just to get her to let go of my arm. I didn't think anything of it. I wish I had. By the time we reached the foothills of the mountains, it was almost 11. The landscape had changed dramatically. Gone were the highways and gas stations and billboards, replaced by narrow winding roads, dense forests on both sides. The trees seemed to close in on us, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. It was like driving through a tunnel that kept getting darker and darker. The temperature dropped too, noticeably. We had to roll up the windows, turn on the heat, even though it was still morning, even though it was supposed to be a warm day. There was this chill in the air, this coldness that seemed to seep into your bones. Jessie was navigating, her vintage map spread across her lap, her finger tracing the route. Occasionally she'd look up, compare what she saw on the map to what she saw out the window, trying to match landmarks. "We need to take the next left," she said, her voice slightly uncertain. "There's supposed to be a Forest Service road that'll take us right to the trailhead. It should be marked with a small wooden sign." I was driving, focusing on the twisting road, trying not to think about how isolated we were becoming, how far from civilization, how long it had been since we'd seen another car. When we reached what looked like a fork, there was supposed to be a sign. But there wasn't. Just 2 dirt roads, both disappearing into the woods, both looking equally unused, both looking equally ominous. "Which one?" I asked, slowing the Explorer to a crawl. Jessie squinted at her map, turned it sideways, then upside down. "I think the left one." "Yeah, it has to be the left one." "You think or you know?" Scott called from the back seat, his tone joking but with an edge of concern. "The map's not super clear," Jessie admitted, biting her lower lip. "Scale is weird, and some of the roads aren't labeled. but based on the distance we've traveled and this landmark here." She pointed to a spot on the map. "I'm pretty sure it's left." That was our first mistake. Our first of many. We should have turned around, should have gone back to the main road, asked for directions at a gas station, called someone, done anything except what we did. But we were young, confident, stupid. We took the left turn. The road got worse almost immediately. What started as a dirt road, rutted but manageable, became little more than 2 tire tracks through the undergrowth. Branches scraped against the sides of the Explorer, making horrible screeching sounds, like fingernails on a chalkboard. The suspension bounced and groaned over rocks and potholes. Every few feet the vehicle would lurch violently, throwing us around inside. "Are you sure this is right?" I asked, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white, my arms aching from fighting to keep us on track. "It has to be," Jessie said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice, could see her frantically scanning the map, looking for something to confirm we were going the right way. We drove for another 20 minutes, each minute worse than the last. The road kept getting worse, narrower, more overgrown. The trees pressed in on us from all sides, their gnarled branches reaching out like twisted fingers, scratching at the windows, tapping on the roof. It felt like the forest was trying to grab us, trying to pull us in, trying to swallow us whole. The sunlight barely penetrated here. Everything had this greenish, sickly tint, like we were underwater, like we were in some alien world. The air felt thick, heavy, hard to breathe. And the silence, the absolute silence. No birds singing, no insects buzzing, no squirrels chattering. Just the sound of our engine struggling, and our own breathing. "Maybe we should turn back," Carly suggested, her voice small, nervous. She'd stopped taking pictures, had put her phone away, and was now just staring out the window with this look of growing unease. "We've come this far," Scott said, though even his usual confidence seemed shaken. "Let's just go a bit further. If we don't find anything in the next 10 minutes, we'll turn around." Deal. Those 10 minutes. I wish we'd never driven them. I wish I'd listened to Carly. I wish I'd trusted my gut that was screaming at me to stop, to reverse, to get out of there. But I didn't. I kept driving. The road suddenly opened up into a small clearing, maybe 50 feet across. In the center stood what looked like an abandoned building. Maybe it had been a ranger station once, or a hunting lodge, or some kind of outpost. It was hard to tell. The structure was falling apart. The roof caved in on one side. Windows broken, shards of glass glinting in the dim light, door hanging off its hinges, swaying slightly in a breeze I couldn't feel. The building was made of wood, darkened with age and rot, covered in moss and vines. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades, like nature was slowly reclaiming it, swallowing it back into the earth. There was something deeply unsettling about it, something wrong, something that made every instinct in my body scream danger. "What is this place?" Evan asked, speaking for the first time in over an hour. His voice was barely above a whisper, like he was afraid of being heard. "I don't know," Jessie said, frantically checking her map, turning it this way and that. "This isn't on here. There's nothing marked anywhere near where we should be. I don't understand." I stopped the car, put it in park, but left the engine running. We all sat there for a moment, staring at this derelict building. None of us wanting to be the first to suggest what we should do. Something about it felt wrong, deeply wrong, fundamentally wrong. The air was too still, too quiet, too heavy. It felt like the forest was holding its breath, waiting, watching. And that's when I noticed them, the symbols, carved into the trees surrounding the clearing, circles and triangles and shapes I didn't recognize, primitive, ancient, menacing. They were cut deep into the bark, deep enough that they'd been there for years, maybe decades. They formed a perimeter around the clearing, like a warning, or a barrier, or something worse. "Let's check it out," Scott said, already unbuckling his seatbelt, reaching for the door handle. "Scott, I don't think that's a good idea." Carly grabbed his arm, her fingers digging in, her eyes pleading. "Oh, come on. Maybe there's someone who can give us directions, or at least we can figure out where we are. Maybe there's a map inside or something." He opened the door and stepped out, his feet crunching on the dead leaves and broken glass that littered the clearing. Against my better judgment, against every fiber of my being that was screaming at me to stay in the vehicle, to drive away, to get out now. I turned off the engine and followed. We all did. One by one, we stepped out into that clearing, into that silence, into that wrongness. The moment I stepped out of the SUV, I felt it. That primal instinct that tells you you're being watched. That ancient part of your brain that evolved to detect predators, to sense danger. I turned, scanning the tree line, looking for eyes in the darkness, for movement in the shadows, but saw nothing. Just trees and undergrowth and that oppressive darkness. But I knew something was out there. I could feel its gaze on me, crawling over my skin like insects, making the hair on the back of my neck stand up, making my heart pound faster, making my breathing shallow. Does anyone else feel? Evan started, then trailed off, looking around nervously, like we're being watched. I finished for him. He nodded. You guys are just being paranoid. Scott said, but even he kept glancing over his shoulder. Even he stayed close to the group. Even he walked a little faster than normal. The building smelled like rot and decay, like something had died there and been left to fester. Years of rain and neglect had turned it into little more than a shell. The floor was covered with debris, old furniture broken and scattered, papers yellowed with age, empty bottles, rusted cans, animal droppings. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust and mold, but it was what we found on the walls that made my blood run cold, made my stomach drop, made me realize we'd made a terrible, terrible mistake. Scratches, deep gouges in the wood, hundreds of them, thousands of them, covering every surface, like something with claws had tried to tear its way out, or try to keep something else from getting in. They were frantic, desperate, chaotic. Some were shallow. Some were so deep they'd gone through the wood entirely. You could see daylight through some of the holes. And symbols, crude drawings carved into the walls, circles and triangles, and shapes that hurt to look at, that made your eyes water, that seemed to shift and move when you weren't looking directly at them. They were everywhere, overlapping, repeated, obsessive, and words scratched over and over again. Leave. They're watching. Run. Don't sleep. They come at night. And names, dozens of names, hundreds of names, carved into every available space. Mitchell, Sarah, David, Jennifer. On and on, catalog of the lost, the taken, the consumed. This is seriously creepy. Carly whispered, her phone camera capturing everything. The flash making the shadows dance, making the scratches look like they were moving. We should really go, like right now. Probably just kids messing around. Scott said, but even he didn't sound convinced. His voice was shaky, uncertain, his usual bravado cracking. You know, teenagers looking for a place to party, trying to scare each other. But we all knew that wasn't true. This wasn't the work of teenagers. This was something else, something desperate, something terrified. Jesse found something in the corner, partially hidden under a pile of moldy blankets. A journal, water-damaged and moldy, the pages stuck together, the cover torn, but still partially readable. She opened it carefully, pages crackling, threatening to crumble, her eyes scanning the faded writing. This belonged to a park ranger. She said, her voice trembling. His name was Thomas Bradford. Listen to this. She began to read, her voice getting quieter with each word. Day 43. They took Mitchell last night. I heard him screaming. Heard them dragging him through the undergrowth. His screams went on for so long, and then they just stopped. Just silence. I can hear them circling the station, scratching at the walls, breathing, testing the doors, testing the windows. I'm the only one left now. The only one out of 6. I've barricaded myself inside, but I know it won't hold. Nothing holds against them. They're patient. They can wait. They have all the time in the world. If anyone finds this, don't come looking for us. Get out while you can. Don't make the same mistakes we did. Don't trust the maps. Don't follow the roads. And whatever you do, don't stay after dark. They own the night. The entry was dated 15 years ago. September. Just like now. The same time of year. Jessie flipped through more pages, her hand shaking. There's more, listen. Day 39. We found the symbols today, carved into trees all around the perimeter. Mitchell says they're warnings, territorial markers. He thinks this used to be their hunting ground, maybe still is. We should leave, but the vehicles won't start, all of them. It's like something drained the batteries or cut the wires. We're trapped. We radioed for help, but no one responded. Just static. Just this horrible sound like breathing, like something listening on the other end. Day 35. We saw them for the first time today. At least I think we did, figures in the trees, watching us. They don't move like people. They move like animals, but worse, more coordinated, more intelligent. David tried to photograph them, but when he looked at the camera, the images were just black, like something had sucked all the light out of them. Day 28. Sarah's gone. She went to get water from the stream and never came back. We found her boots, just her boots, sitting neatly side by side on the bank, nothing else, like she just stepped out of them and walked away. But there were no footprints, no signs of struggle, just the boots. David is losing it, keeps saying we're going to die here. Keeps saying they're playing with us, hunting us. I'm starting to think he's right. Okay, that's it, we're leaving. I said, my voice firmer than I felt, trying to project confidence I didn't have. Right now. Everyone back to the car. Everyone agreed immediately. No arguments, no jokes. We practically ran back to the SUV, our feet pounding on the ground, our breath coming in gasps. We just wanted to get away from that place, from those walls, from those names, from that journal and its terrifying chronicle of doom. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get them in the ignition. I turned the key. The engine cranked, sputtered, made this horrible grinding sound and died. I tried again. Same result. The battery was fine. The lights worked, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Again and again. Nothing. Just that grinding, that clicking, that silence. What's wrong with it? Jessie asked, panic creeping into her voice, rising with each word. Chris, what's wrong with the car? I don't know. I popped the hood and got out. Scott joined me. We stared at the engine. Neither of us were mechanics, but even we could see something was wrong. Wires had been cut, deliberately cleanly. Someone had sabotaged our vehicle. Multiple wires, the fuel line, even the battery cables. Someone had known exactly what to cut, exactly how to strand us. Chris, Scott's voice was barely a whisper. Someone did this. Someone was here while we were inside. I know. Recently. These cuts are fresh. Look, the copper is still bright, no oxidation. This happened in the last few minutes. We both turned, looking at the forest around us, looking at the shadows between the trees, looking for any sign of movement. Someone was here. Someone had cut those wires while we were inside the building. Someone had been watching us, waiting. Someone was watching us right now, this very second. And that's when I saw it. Just for a moment, a flash of movement in the trees, a shape that was almost human, but not quite, too tall, too thin, moving in a way that made my brain hurt. And then it was gone, like it had never been there. Did you see that? I whispered. Yeah. Scott breathed. What was that? We need to call for help. Carly pulled out her phone, stared at the screen, her face going pale. No signal. I have no signal. Not even one bar. Nothing. We all checked, pulling out our phones, desperately hoping for even the slightest connection. None of us had any bars. Not a single one. It was like something was blocking the signal, or like we'd driven so far into the wilderness that civilization couldn't reach us. Either way, we were alone, completely alone. Okay, don't panic, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, trying to be the leader our group needed. Even though I was terrified, we can walk back, follow the road. We'll eventually reach the main highway. It can't be more than, 5 or 6 miles? That's like, 2 hours of walking? Evan asked, looking at the sun. Maybe more given the terrain. It's almost noon now. We should be able to make it before dark. If we leave now, then let's go. Carly said, already backing away from the Explorer, from the building, from this cursed clearing. Please, let's just go. We grabbed what we could from the SUV. Backpacks with water and snacks. Scott's hunting knife, a flashlight. Jessie's map, a first aid kit, some rope. We didn't take much, wanted to move fast. Wanted to get as far from this place as possible. Little did we know, it wouldn't matter. They already knew where we were. They'd been watching us the whole time. Then we started walking, keeping to the dirt road. moving as fast as we could without running. We didn't want to run, not yet. Running meant panic. Panic meant mistakes. Mistakes meant death. So we walked, quickly, purposefully, constantly looking over our shoulders, constantly scanning the trees. The forest seemed to close in tighter with every step. The silence was oppressive, suffocating. Our footsteps seemed too loud, echoing in the stillness, crunching on leaves and twigs. Every sound we made felt like a beacon, announcing our location, telling them where we were. I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see someone following us, expecting to see those shapes in the trees, but there was never anyone there. Just shadows, just darkness, just the forest watching, waiting. We'd been walking for maybe 20 minutes, maybe less. Time seemed to stretch and compress, when Carly stopped suddenly, her hand shooting up. Did you hear that? We all froze, listening, holding our breath. At first, nothing. Just the sound of our own heartbeats, our own blood rushing in our ears. Then faint, distant, a sound like branches snapping, like something moving through the underbrush. Something big, something that didn't care about being quiet anymore. Keep moving, I said, trying to keep the fear out of my voice. Just keep moving. Don't run. Don't panic. Just walk. But the sound continued, growing louder, growing closer. Sometimes on our left, sometimes on our right, sometimes behind us, like whatever it was circling us, studying us, deciding the best moment to strike. And then we heard it on both sides, multiple sources, multiple things, working together, coordinating, hunting as a pack. There's more than one. Evan whispered, his voice hollow dead, like he'd already given up, like he knew what was coming. Keep walking. I repeated. Don't look. Don't engage. Just keep walking. But Carly couldn't help herself. She turned, looked into the trees, and then she screamed. A blood-curdling scream that echoed through the forest, that sent birds I didn't know where they're flying from the trees, that probably could be heard for miles. We all spun around, following her gaze, and we saw it. A figure, tall and thin, impossibly thin, standing motionless between two tree trunks, watching us. It was too far away to make out details, maybe 30 yards, but it was definitely human-shaped, wearing what looked like ragged clothes, or maybe animal skins, or maybe something worse, something made from. I didn't want to think about what it might be made from. It just stood there, not moving, not making a sound, just watching. And somehow, that was worse than if it had charged us, worse than if it had screamed. The stillness, the patience, the absolute certainty in its posture, like it knew it didn't need to rush, like it knew we couldn't escape, like it knew we were already dead. And then, slowly, deliberately, it raised one arm, pointing at us. Its movement was wrong, jerky, like a marionette, like something mimicking human movement, but not quite getting it right. And I could see, even from this distance, that its proportions were off. Its arm was too long. Its fingers were too long. Everything about it was just slightly wrong. Run, Scott shouted, and we did. We ran. We crashed through the undergrowth, abandoning the road, abandoning any sense of direction. Our only thought was to put distance between us and that thing. Branches whipped at our faces, cutting skin, drawing blood. Roots tried to trip us. Rocks turned under our feet, but we didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. Behind us, we heard them. Not one, not two, but many. Crashing through the forest, moving faster than should be possible. Their sounds weren't human, weren't animal. There was something in between, something worse. Howls and shrieks, and this horrible clicking sound, like bones rattling, like teeth chattering, like something ancient and hungry. I don't know how long we ran. It felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. My lungs burned, my legs screamed. My heart felt like it would explode, but I kept going. We all kept going. We finally stopped in a dense thicket, gasping for breath. Hearts pounding so hard I thought mine might burst through my chest. Jessie was crying, tears streaming down her face, mixing with the blood from the scratches. Carly was shaking uncontrollably, her whole body trembling like she was freezing. Even Scott, always confident Scott, looked terrified, his face pale, his eyes wide, his usual jokes nowhere to be found. And Evan was the worst. He'd gone completely still, staring at nothing, barely breathing. What was that? Jessie managed to ask between sobs, her voice breaking. I don't know. I pulled her close, trying to comfort her, trying to comfort myself. But we need to find shelter. It'll be dark in a few hours. We can't be out here when night falls. Evan, who'd been quiet this whole time, who'd been staring into space, suddenly spoke, his voice flat, emotionless. We're being hunted. The words hung in the air, heavy final. We all knew he was right. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. Someone or something had disabled our vehicle, had been following us, was now chasing us through these woods. And whatever it was patient, it was intelligent, and it was playing with us. Like a cat plays with a mouse before killing it. We moved more carefully now, trying to stay quiet, trying to leave no trace, trying to think like prey. Because that's what we were now, prey. The sun was getting lower, casting long shadows through the trees, painting everything in shades of red and orange, like the forest was bleeding. We needed to find somewhere defensible, somewhere we could hide for the night, somewhere they couldn't reach us. We moved through the forest for another hour, always looking over our shoulders, always listening for those sounds, for that clicking, for those footsteps. The temperature was dropping, our breath visible in the air, our clothes soaked with sweat now making us cold, making us vulnerable. That's when we found the cabin. Unlike the ranger station, this structure was smaller, older, but somehow better preserved. It looked like an old hunting cabin, maybe from the early 1900s, logs chinked with mud and moss, a stone chimney, small windows covered with wooden shutters, a porch that was mostly rotted away, a door that looked solid strong, but something was off about it. The area around it was too clear, too maintained, like someone had been keeping it up, like someone had been using it recently. There were footprints in the mud near the door, footprints that weren't ours, footprints that looked wrong, too big, too strange. Should we go in? Carly asked, her voice shaking. Do we have a choice? Scott replied, looking at the darkening sky, looking at the forest around us. We approached slowly, carefully, weapons drawn. Scott with his knife, me with a heavy stick I'd picked up, Evan with a rock. We were pathetic, we were outmatched, we were doomed. The door was unlocked. It swung open with a long creak, loud in the silence, announcing our presence to anything that might be listening. Inside was a single room, maybe 20 feet by 20 feet, sparse furniture. Table, some chairs, a fireplace with old ashes, a few shelves with canned goods covered in dust. No electricity, no running water, but 4 walls and a roof, and most importantly, a door we could bar, windows we could cover. We quickly checked the whole space, looking in corners, behind furniture, making sure we were alone, making sure nothing was hiding, waiting. Then we barricaded the door with the table, pushed it hard against the wood, piled chairs on top, used rope to tie the handles. We covered the windows with blankets we found, plunging us into darkness, making it impossible for anything outside to see in, but also making it impossible for us to see out. We didn't dare light a fire, didn't want to draw attention, didn't want the smoke to give away our location. We just huddled together in the growing darkness, sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, waiting, listening, trying not to think about what was out there, trying not to think about what would happen when they found us. And they would find us. We all knew they would. Night felt like a curtain sudden complete. The darkness was absolute, suffocating. We couldn't see our hands in front of our faces, couldn't see each other even though we were touching. We sat in that darkness, in that silence, barely breathing, every sound amplified, every creak of the cabin making us jump, every gust of wind making us gasp. And then the sound started. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling the cabin, walking around and around, never stopping, never rushing, just constant, patient, methodical. How many were out there? 2, 5, 10. We couldn't tell. The footsteps blended together, overlapped, created this horrible rhythm, this drumbeat of doom. Then came the scratching. Light at first, testing fingernails or claws, dragging across the wood. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Moving across the walls, around the windows, over the door, like they were mapping the cabin, learning its weaknesses, planning their entry. And the breathing, heavy and ragged, right outside the windows. Sometimes it would stop, and the silence was worse, because we didn't know if they'd left or if they were just waiting, listening, planning. Then it would start again, louder, closer. like whatever was out there was pressing against the walls, maybe even had its face pressed against the shutters, separated from us by only a few inches of wood. Carly had her hand over her mouth to muffle her cry, her whole body shaking. Scott held his knife in a white-knuckled grip, though we all knew it would be useless if something really wanted to get in. Jessie was pressed against me, her face buried in my chest, trying to block out the sounds. Evan sat separate from us, staring at the door, not moving, barely breathing, like he was already dead. Then came the voice. Low, raspy, barely human, speaking from just outside the door. So close we could hear every breath, every wet sound, every horrible detail. We know you're in there. The voice paused, letting the words sink in, letting the terror build, and then continued. We've been watching you. Since you arrived, since you stepped out of your vehicle, since you entered our territory. You don't belong here, but now you can never leave. Another voice joined in, from a different side of the cabin, higher pitched, almost childlike, but wrong, distorted. Come out and play. We promise it will be quick. We promise it won't hurt too much. We promise. Then laughter, horrible, wet, gurgling laughter, coming from all sides now, surrounding us, mocking us. They were enjoying this, enjoying our fear, our helplessness. Carly couldn't hold it in anymore. She screamed, a raw, primal scream of pure terror. And the moment she did, everything outside went silent, completely silent. The footsteps stopped, the scratching stopped, the voices stopped. Even the wind seemed to die. The silence was somehow worse than the sounds, because we knew they were still there, still watching, still waiting. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time lost all meaning in that darkness and that silence. We didn't move, didn't speak, barely breathed. Just waited for whatever was coming next. And then a new sound. Digging, something was digging. We could hear it through the floorboards, beneath us, scraping, clawing, tunneling, coming up from below. A place we hadn't thought to defend, a weakness we hadn't considered. They're coming through the floor. Evan said, his voice still flat, still emotionless. They've been hurting us, playing with us, and now they're coming to finish it. We have to run, I said, standing up, pulling Jessie with me. We can't stay here. If we stay, we die. If we go out there, we die. Scott countered, but even he was standing. Even he knew we had no choice. At least out there we have a chance, and here we're trapped. The digging was getting louder. More frantic dirt and debris were starting to fall through gaps in the floorboards. We could see pale shapes moving beneath us, moving in the crawl space, multiple shapes, working together, coordinating their attack. On three we moved the barricade and run. I said, gripping Jessie's hand, feeling her fingers crushing mine. We run and we don't stop. We don't look back. We just run, understand? Everyone nodded, even though no one could see. We moved to the door, hands finding the furniture in the darkness, finding the rope, preparing to remove our only protection. 1. I counted, my voice shaking. The digging intensified. Something was almost through. 2. I could hear breathing, right beneath where I was standing. Could feel vibrations through the floor, could smell something rotten, something dead. 3. We shoved the table aside, tore at the rope, yanked open the door, and ran out into the night, into darkness so complete we couldn't see where we were going, couldn't see what was in front of us, couldn't see them. But we knew they were there, everywhere waiting. Behind us, erupting from the cabin, came sounds of chaos, with splintering, breaking, something large forcing its way through the floor, through the door, pouring out into the night, chasing us, hunting us. We ran blindly, hands outstretched, feeling for trees, for obstacles, stumbling, falling, getting up, running again. The forest was alive with sounds now. No more stealth, no more patience. They were done playing, done waiting. Now it was time to feed. I could hear Carly screaming somewhere to my left, could hear Scott shouting, could hear Jessie's panicked breathing beside me, could hear Evan wait. I couldn't hear Evan. I couldn't hear him at all. Evan, I shouted into the darkness. Evan, where are you? No response, just the sounds of pursuit, just the sounds of death closing in. He was gone, taken in the darkness, taken in the chaos, taken while we ran. And we couldn't stop, couldn't go back, couldn't help him. We could only run and pray we wouldn't be next. A light, ahead, faint, flickering fire, Someone had a fire, civilization. Help, hope. We ran towards it desperate, not caring if it was a trap, not caring about anything except getting away from what was behind us, from what was all around us. We burst into another clearing, smaller than the first, and stopped, because what we saw made no sense, made our situation so much worse, made us realize we'd been doomed from the very start. The fire was in the center, surrounded by stones, and around it, sitting, standing, watching us with eyes that reflected the firelight like animals, were people, dozens of them women. Some that might have been children once, all of them filthy. All of them wearing ragged clothes and animal skins. All of them staring at us with expressions of hunger, of madness, of something that was no longer quite human. And there, tied to a tree at the edge of the clearing, was Evan. His eyes were wide, terrified, a gag in his mouth. He'd been captured, dragged here, left as bait to draw us in, and it had worked. We'd run right into their trap. One of them stood, the tallest, the thinnest, the one from the road. Its face was gaunt, skeletal, covered in scars and markings. Its eyes were too large, too bright to aware. It smiled, revealing teeth that had been filed to points, stained dark with things I didn't want to think about. "Welcome," it said, its voice the same one from outside the cabin, rasp wrong. "We've been waiting for you, waiting so long. It gets lonely out here, so lonely, and hungry, so very hungry." The others began to move, standing, forming a circle around us, cutting off any escape. Their movements were coordinated, practiced. They'd done this before, many times before. All those names carved into the walls of the ranger station, all those missing people, all those search parties that found nothing. They'd all ended up here, in this clearing, with these things that used to be human. "What do you want?" I managed to ask, my voice cracking, breaking, barely recognizable as my own. "What?" The creature tilted its head. The movement too far, too unnatural. "We want what we've always wanted, what we've been denied, what was taken from us. We were cast out, left to die in these woods, abandoned by those who were supposed to protect us. So we adapted, we survived, we became something new, something better, and now we take what we need from those foolish enough to enter our home." "You're your people," Jesse whispered. "You were people." "Were," the creature laughed, that horrible wet laugh. "Yes, once long ago, but not anymore. Now we're so much more. We're the masters of these mountains, the kings of this forest, and you're just meat, just food, just the next offering to keep us strong, to keep us alive." The circle was tightening. They were getting closer. Their breathing grew louder, more excited, more eager. They were savoring this moment, savoring our fear, our desperation, our absolute helplessness. Scott still had his knife. He held it out, turning, trying to watch all of them at once. "Stay back. I'll use this. I swear I'll." "Go ahead." Another one spoke, smaller female, her voice almost sing-song. "Try. It makes the hunt more fun, more satisfying. We like it when they fight, when they struggle, makes the meat taste better." That's when something inside me snapped. Survival instinct, pure adrenaline desperation. I didn't think. I just acted. I grabbed a burning branch from a fire, flames hot against my hand, searing my palm. But I didn't care. I swung in a wide arc, forcing them back, buying U.S. seconds, precious seconds. "Run," I screamed. "Scatter. Don't stop." We exploded in different directions. Scott went left, slashing with his knife. Carly went right. Jesse stayed with me. We ran back into the forest, back into the darkness, back into the unknown. Behind us, shrieks of rage, of frustration, of excitement. The hunt was on again, and they were loving it. I held onto that burning branch, my only light, my only weapon. Jesse's hand gripped my other hand. We ran together, not knowing where we were going, not caring, just running, always running. Tree branches tore at us. Roots tried to trip us. The forest itself seemed to fight against us, trying to slow us down, trying to help our hunters. We could hear them, always behind us, never too far, never too close, pacing US, hurting us, playing with us still. My lungs were screaming. My legs were giving out. I couldn't run much longer. Jesse was sobbing, stumbling, barely keeping up. The torch was dying, the flames getting smaller. Soon we'd be in darkness again. Soon we'd be blind. Soon we'd be caught. And then, miracle of miracles, I saw something through the trees, lights, electric lights, a road, civilization, hope. We pushed harder, found strength we didn't know we had, sprinted those final yards. We burst out onto a paved road, an actual maintained road, with painted lines and reflectors. The most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. In the distance, headlights, a car. Someone was coming. Someone could help us. We ran into the middle of the road, waving our arms, screaming. The car slowed, stopped, high beams blinding us. A door opened, someone got out. Please, I gasped, barely able to form words. Please help us. There are things in the woods. They're hunting us, our friends. We need to call for help. The figure approached, and as it got closer, as it stepped into the light, my blood turned to ice, my heart stopped, my mind refused to accept what I was seeing. It was Mabel, the waitress from the diner. But she was different now. Her eyes were too bright, too aware. Her smile was too wide, showing too many teeth. And behind her, getting out of the car, were more of them, the same gaunt faces, the same wrong proportions, the same hungry expressions. Oh, dear children, she said, her voice different now, deeper, more menacing. Did you really think the road would save you? Did you really think there was any escape? You were marked the moment you entered that diner, the moment you showed me that map, the moment you ignored my warning. You were. I couldn't finish, couldn't process. Part of it, yes, always have been. I'm the lure of the warner, the one who identifies the foolish, the adventurous, the ones who won't be missed right away. I send them into the mountains, and my family takes care of the rest. It's been this way for generations, since my grandfather was left to die in those woods by his mining company, since he and the others transformed into something that could survive, something that could thrive. More figures emerged from the forest behind us, the ones from the clearing, the ones who'd been chasing us. We were surrounded, completely surrounded. There was nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide. This had always been their plan. Herd us here, to this spot, to this moment. Jessie collapsed, her legs giving out, her hope shattered. I held her, knowing it was over, knowing we'd lost, knowing we'd never see home again, never see our families, never have the lives we'd planned. All of it gone, stolen by these creatures, by this place, by our own stupidity and arrogance. What about our friends? I asked, not even sure why it mattered anymore, why I cared, maybe just wanting to know, needing to know. The quiet one. Evan, he's being prepared now. The others, if they're lucky, they'll make it till morning, but morning is still hours away. And we have all night to hunt, all night to play, all night to feast. Don't worry, you'll see them again soon, in the pit, where we keep the meat fresh, where we keep our food alive until we're ready. She stepped closer, her hand reaching out, touching my face with fingers that were too long, too cold, too sharp. You would have made a fine addition to our family, strong, smart, resourceful. But you're too dangerous now, too aware, too much of a risk. So instead, you'll serve a different purpose. You'll feed us, sustain us, keep us strong for another season, another year. The circle closed in dozens of them, surrounding us, reaching for us. Their hands grabbed, pulled, separated us. Jessie screamed my name. I screamed hers. We fought, struggled, but there were too many, always too many. They dragged us back into the forest, back into the darkness, back into their domain. The last thing I saw was the road, that beautiful paved road, civilization, so close yet impossibly far. Salvation, just out of reach, forever out of reach. Hours passed, days maybe. Time lost all meaning in that pit, that horrible earthen prison where they kept us, where they kept all of us. Evan was there, barely conscious, barely alive. Scott was there too, his leg broken, his face a mask of pain. Carly was in the corner, rocking, muttering to herself, her mind already gone, already broken. And Jessie was beside me, holding my hand, crying quietly. We could hear them above, moving around, preparing. They'd take one of us soon, drag them up, and we'd hear the screams, the begging, the sounds that would haunt us until it was our turn, until we were the ones being dragged up those rough wooden stairs, being laid out on their altar, their table, their feast. But then, something happened, something unexpected, something that gave us one final chance, one last desperate hope. A storm rolled in sudden violence, the kind of storm that only happens in the mountains. Thunder that shook the earth, lightning that lit up the sky like daylight, rain that fell in sheets, turning the ground to mud, turning their camp to chaos. In the confusion, in the panic, in their scramble to secure their camp, their food, they made a mistake. They left the pit uncovered, left it unguarded, for just a moment, just seconds, but seconds were all we needed. Scott, despite his broken leg, despite his pain, boosted me up, gave me the height I needed to grab the edge, to pull myself out. I reached back, grabbed Jessie's hand, pulled her up. Evan came next, moving on pure instinct, pure survival. But Scott, his leg was too damaged, and Carly, she wouldn't move, couldn't move, was too far gone. Go, Scott shouted, pushing Evan up. Go now. Get help. Come back for US. Just go. We ran, again, always running. The storm provided cover, the rain washing away our scent, our tracks, the thunder masking the sounds of our escape. Lightning showed us the way, brief flashes illuminating the forest, showing US gaps, paths, directions. I don't know how long we ran, don't know how far. My entire body was beyond pain, beyond exhaustion, operating on something primal, something beyond human endurance. Jessie fell. I picked her up. Evan stumbled. We caught him. We were a unit. We were survival incarnate. We refused to die. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take another step, when I thought my heart would simply give out, when I thought this was finally the end, we saw lights, real lights, a gas station, glowing like heaven in the darkness, sitting at the edge of the forest, at the edge of their territory, at the edge of freedom. We staggered into the parking lot, into the light, into safety. An old man was working the counter. His eyes went wide when he saw us, covered in mud and blood and filth, barely human ourselves. He called the police, called an ambulance, wrapped us in blankets, gave US water. The police came. We told them everything, every detail, every horrible moment. They looked at us with skepticism, with pity, with the expression people get when they think they're dealing with crazy people, drug addicts, attention seekers. But they went into the forest anyway, following our directions, following the trails, searching. They found our Ford Explorer, right where we left it, exactly as we described, wires cut, abandoned. They found the ranger station, the symbols, the walls covered in scratches and names. They found the journal, though the pages we'd read were now mysteriously blank, the ink faded, the words gone, like they'd never existed. But they didn't find the cabin, didn't find the clearing, didn't find the pit, didn't find Scott, didn't find Carly, didn't find the creatures, didn't find any evidence of the people we described. The search went on for weeks. Helicopters, dogs, search parties, volunteers. They covered miles of forest and found nothing, absolutely nothing. Scott and Carly were declared missing, presumed dead, victims of the wilderness, of exposure, of wild animals, of unfortunate accidents. The official report said we'd gotten lost, that we'd panicked, that in our fear and confusion we'd imagined things, seen things that weren't there, created monsters from shadows and stress. They found us a threat to ourselves, kept us for evaluation. Psychiatrists, therapists, doctors, all tried to explain what we'd experienced, all trying to rationalize the irrational, all trying to convince us that what we'd seen wasn't real, that we'd suffered some kind of shared delusion, some kind of mass hysteria. Evan couldn't take it. 3 months after we got out, 3 months of nightmares and therapy and disbelief, he took his own life, left a note that said simply, "They're still hunting me. I can hear them in the walls. I can see them in the shadows. This is the only way to escape." Jessie and I, we stayed together, bonded by trauma, by shared horror, by the knowledge that we alone knew the truth. But it changed us, damaged US, broke something inside that could never be fixed. We moved far from those mountains, to a city, to crowds, to light and noise and civilization. But we never felt safe, never felt free, never stopped looking over our shoulders. We don't hike anymore, don't camp, don't go anywhere near forests. We keep our doors locked, our windows covered. We sleep with the lights on, when we sleep at all. Because we know they're still out there, still hunting, still feeding, still waiting for foolish people to wander into their territory, into their trap. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind blows just right, I swear I can hear them. That clicking sound, that wet breathing, that horrible laughter. And I wonder if we really escaped at all, or if we're still there, still in that forest, still running. And all of this life, this reality, is just a dream, just a fantasy our minds created to cope with what's really happening to us, what they're really doing to us. I wonder if we're already in the pit, already on the altar, already being consumed. And this is just the hallucination of a dying brain, the last desperate fiction of a mind refusing to accept its fate. Sometimes, I see Mabel in crowds in stores, at restaurants, always watching, always smiling that too wide smile. And I know she's checking on us, making sure we don't tell too many people, making sure we don't lead anyone back there, making sure we play our part in the cycle, in the machine, in the hunting ground that has existed for generations and will exist for generations more. Jessie sees them too. She doesn't tell me, but I know. I can see it in her eyes, in the way she freezes sometimes, in the way she grabs my arm and whispers, "Do you see that? Do you see them?" And I always say no. Always try to calm her. Always try to convince her it's just her imagination. But I'm lying. I always see them too. They're always there, always watching, always waiting. We tried going to the media, tried telling our story to journalists, to podcasters, to anyone who would listen. But Mabel was always there first, or people like her, discrediting us, providing alternate explanations, making us look like unreliable witnesses, like attention seekers, like crazy people. The system protects them, society protects them, because to acknowledge them, to admit they exist, would mean admitting that there are places where civilization has no power, where the rules don't apply, where monsters are real and hunting is permitted. Last month, Jessie disappeared. I woke up one morning and she was gone. No note, no signs of struggle, no evidence. Just gone. The police said she probably left me, ran away, started a new life somewhere. They found her car at a bus station, a ticket purchased to nowhere. But I know where she really went. I know they came for her, came to collect what they'd been owed, came to finish what was started 6 months ago in those woods. And now I'm alone, truly alone, the last survivor of that trip, the last witness to what really happened. And I know I'm next. I can feel them getting closer, circling, preparing. I've stopped locking my doors, stopped covering my windows, stopped running, because what's the point? You can't escape them. You can only delay the inevitable. So I'm telling you this story, recording it, uploading it, sending it out into the world. Not because I think it will save me. Nothing can save me now, but because maybe, just maybe, it will save someone else. Maybe someone watching this will see that map, hear about those mountains, think about taking that trip, and they'll remember my words. They'll remember my warning, and they'll choose differently. They'll stay away, they'll live. If you're watching this, if you ever find yourself in the backwoods of West Virginia, if you see symbols carved into trees, if you meet someone who warned you about the mountains, if your car mysteriously breaks down in a clearing with an abandoned building, please turn back. Get out while you can. Don't make the same mistakes we did. Don't become another name carved into those walls, another missing person that's never found, another meal for the things that live in those woods. And if you see them, those figures between the trees, those too tall, too thin shapes that move wrong, that watch with eyes too bright, don't run. Running only excites them, makes them chase, makes them hunt. Just back away slowly. Don't make eye contact, don't show fear, and pray. Pray to whatever God you believe in, that they're not hungry that day, that they've already fed, that they decide to let you go. But chances are they won't. They never do. I can hear them now, outside my apartment, scratching at my door, breathing at my window. I can smell, that rot, that death. My time is up. My story is ending. The way it was always going to end. The way it ended the moment we turned onto that dirt road 6 months ago. To Scott, to Carly, to Evan, to Jessie. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't save you. Couldn't protect you. Couldn't get you out. I hope wherever you are, whatever they did to you, it's over now. I hope you're at peace. I hope you're free. And to anyone watching this, learn from us. Learn from our mistakes. The mountains are beautiful, but they're not empty. They're not safe. There are things in the deep woods, old things, hungry things, patient things. And they're always waiting, always watching, always hunting. Never trust a map that shows places that aren't on any other map. Never ignore warnings from locals. Never split up. Never go off the marked trails. Never stay after dark. Never think you're safe. Because you're not in their territory, not in their hunting grounds, not in the backwoods of West Virginia. The door is opening now. I can see their shapes, their shadows. I can hear that clicking, that breathing, that laughter. This is it. This is the end. Remember us. Remember our story. Remember our warning. And whatever you do, stay out of the woods. Stay out of the woods. Stay out of. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I know this was long. I know this was dark. But these are the stories that need to be told. The stories that might save lives. The stories that reveal the darkness hiding just beyond the light. If this story affected you, if it scared you, if it made you think twice about your next hiking trip, please let me know in the comments below. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you've had similar experiences. Tell me if you believe. And please, I'm begging you, if you have your own horror story, if you've encountered something in the woods, something unexplained, something that still haunts you, share it with us. Email your stories. Comment them below. Your experience might help someone else, might warn someone else, might save someone else. Also, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is in your country. I love connecting with you all. Love knowing that this message is reaching people all over the world, spreading the warning, sharing the truth. What topic do you want to see next? What kind of stories interest you most? Urban legends, true crime, paranormal encounters, unsolved mysteries, cryptids, haunted locations. Let me know what keeps you up at night. What makes your skin crawl? What makes you check the locks on your doors? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Hit the like button if this story got to you, if it made you feel something, if it reminded you that there are still mysteries in this world, still dangers lurking in the shadows. Share this video with your friends, your family, anyone who loves horror, anyone who needs to hear this warning, anyone who might be planning a trip to the mountains. Let's spread the word. Let's keep people safe. Let's make sure what happened to me and my friends never happens to anyone else. Remember, the woods are watching. The woods are waiting. The woods are hungry. Stay safe out there, everyone. Stay vigilant. Stay alive. Until next time, sleep with one eye open. Keep your doors locked. And for the love of everything holy, stay out of the woods. This is Chris Flynn, signing off, possibly for the last time. Stay safe. Stay aware and never ever ignore the warnings.